The Rise of an Urban Political Voice, present by Salman Nasim Shad. It was within this environment of neglect and inequality that an urban political consciousness emerged. From modest neighborhoods and middle-class households, a movement arose that sought representation for the population long excluded from meaningful political. Born on September 17, 1953 in Karachi, Altaf Hussain recognized early on that urban Sindh, particularly the Urdu-speaking middle class, was being systematically marginalized in education, employment, and governance. The quota system, unequal resource allocation, and absence of fair representation created a deep sense of political alienation. In 1978, this realization took organizational form with the establishment of the All-Pakistan Muttahida Students Organization, APMSO, at the University of Karachi. APMSO was not merely a student body, it was a political response to structural discrimination. It challenged entrenched feudal politics and questioned the dominance of hereditary power structures that had long controlled Pakistan's political from streets to political. IPMSO eventually evolved into the Muhajir Qawmi movement, later renamed the Muttahida Qawmi movement, MQM. Unlike traditional political parties rooted in rural elites, MQM emerged from urban streets, apartment blocks, and working-class neighborhoods. Locations such as 90 and Muka Chowk in Azizabad became symbols of a new urban political identity. The party introduced disciplined organization, mass participation, and an unprecedented role for women in political activism. For the first time, Karachi witnessed a form of politics that was visibly urban, middle class, and grassroots driven. A city scarred by violence and state. Karachi's political history, however, is inseparable from tragedy. The 1985 Bush Razaidi incident triggered widespread ethnic violence, exposing the fragility of law enforcement and state neutrality. This was followed by devastating episodes such as the Aligarh and Kasbah colony massacres, which left deep scars on the city's collective. The most defining rupture came in 1992 with the launch of Operation Cleanup, widely remembered as one of the darkest chapters in Karachi's history. Thousands of MQM workers were arrested, many forcibly disappeared, and countless families were shattered. The Martyrs Memorial in Azizabad still stands as a silent witness to those years of bloodshed, unanswered questions, and unresolved grief. Governance without oath. Despite changing governments, shifting alliances, and repeated political experiments, Karachi's fundamental problems remain unresolved. Authority over the city oscillates between provincial and federal institutions, leaving local governance weak and ineffective. Mega development plans are announced, but implementation remains inconsistent. As a result, Karachi continues to function without true ownership, accountability, or empowered municipal leadership. At this point, the debate transcends party loyalty or personality politics. It becomes a broader question of representation, voice, and political legitimacy. Beyond Karachi, an urban Sindh, the sense of political abandonment is not limited to Karachi alone. Cities such as Hyderabad, Mirpurkhas, Sukur, and Nawabshah reflect similar frustration. Urban Sindh as a whole perceives itself as underrepresented and sidelined within the provincial power. Within this context, calls for Altaf Hussain's return to active politics are not merely nostalgic appeals to the past. For many, they symbolize a demand to restore a political voice that once articulated urban grievances with clarity and confidence. This demand is not about. It is about addressing a vacuum, one created by decades of fragmented leadership, weakened institutions, and the absence of a credible urban mandate. A question still unanswered. This is not simply a story of one man or one. It is the story of a city still searching for political ownership. Karachi's streets, neighborhoods, and forgotten infrastructure continue to raise the same question. Who truly represents? Until that question is answered, Karachi will remain what many of its residents already feel it has become. An orphaned metropolis waiting not for nostalgia, but for recognition, justice, and a voice that speaks without fear. Written and presented, Salman, Nasim, Shad.